What's up, guys? How's it going? It's Matt here. So we're going to be talking about how to avoid negligent discharges. Now keep in mind, every single negligent discharge is bad. It shows negligence or what do they call it? Carelessness when it actually comes to a firearm. So every single negligent discharge is bad, okay? It's a bad thing. You don't want it to happen because bullets kind of have a tendency to go through things because they're designed to penetrate things, and they might actually hit someone or hit yourself and put yourself in the hospital, put someone else in the hospital, or kill someone. So we don't want that to happen. So we're going to be talking about the very basic steps of how to avoid the negligent discharges. Now the best way to do this is, one, you got to follow the safety rules, which is treat every gun as if it's loaded. Never point a gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. Keep your fingers straight off the trigger until you're ready to fire. I like to say high and straight off the trigger until you intend to fire. Keep the gun on safe if it has a safety until you're ready to fire, and know the target and its background, what's behind the target. So if you shoot through something, you got, even with jacketed hollow point, there's a good chance it's going to go through. So always know what you're shooting and where the round's actually going. So first things first, you have to follow the safety rules. If you follow safety rules in every single thing that you do with a gun, you will be safe. The next step is status checks. All right, status checks are kind of a big deal. All right, status checks are kind of a big deal. You got to know what your gun is doing and how it, and if it's loaded, if it's not loaded, what status it's in, if it's like a double single action or it's not a single action only. You got to know the status of the gun before you pull it out or put it in a holster or something like that. And then the other thing that we're going to do is talk about reholstering your firearm, reholstering and unholstering your firearm. Now, I've done videos before on holstering and unholstering and stuff like that, but we're going to talk, this is more of a safety-oriented way of people like me how I want to carry a firearm on a daily basis, the proper and safe way to actually basically pull it out of the holster, do a status check, and put it back in the holster. So we're going to be talking about that today. So the pistol I'll be using is this Glock 19, which has been cleared prior to the video, so there's no big deal, no issue, it won't go bang. It will be pointed in a safe direction. So we're going to be talking about pulling it out of the holster and putting it in the holster. Now, I've talked about it before. There's so many people that go through all these steps of holstering and unholster a gun. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Step 4, it goes on and on to the point where you're like, really? Do I have to do every single step exactly like that? Now, when I was at 6 Hour Academy, I like how they did it. They keep it simple. 1, don't go fishing. So when you pull your gun out, don't go fishing, don't go fishing. Number 2, don't slam it in and out of the holster. Big deal. I've said this before too. Don't slam it in and out of the holster. And if the gun comes out of the holster very easily, like this, comes out of the holster pretty easily, it should go into the holster pretty easily too. So you shouldn't be struggling going in and out of the holster. So if it's going in the holster and it feels like it's fighting, then there's something wrong. You should probably check to see what's going on. So we're going to throw those ones out there. Now we're going to talk about the proper way to unholster it, which is you simply being able to remove it from the holster and getting it out there quickly. So it's really simple. You get the gun from down here, you pull it up, see how the muzzle's pointing down, you point this up like this, so it's pointing in a safe direction, put it out, just like that. So putting the steps are like this, all together. It's just grab it, point it, push it out in a safe direction. That's how you unholster it. Very simple. And you notice the entire time my finger is off the trigger. You don't want to put that finger on the trigger until you're aimed in on the target and ready to pull the trigger. So always keep that finger off the trigger. And remember, when you're putting it in and out of the holster, it's simply those steps. Grab, pull, and put it out like that. Because the second it's out here, you could be flagging yourself or your foot or something like that, or someone that's in front of you. So once you pull it out like this, you put it down like this, so it's actually on the target. You could actually shoot at the person from that if it's a serious threat. And then once it's out here, then you simply push it out. Now that's strong side. If you're doing appendix, it's going to be the same deal. So we'll get a little appendix holster in here. So put this guy right up front where it's designed to go. So when you're doing appendix, it's pretty much the same deal. Grab, pull up, and you notice I'm shifting it downwards like that, and then I put it down and push it up. All right, so it's simple. You pull it out, shift down, get it on target, finger off the trigger. Not complicated at all. All right, so I just want to do that. That's the basics of pulling it out of the holster. Now we're going to be talking about the importance of status checks. Okay, status checks. What that means is you're checking the status of the firearm. You're making sure it's loaded. You're making sure it's cleared when you're going in and out of the holster, and you want to make sure if you pull the trigger, it's going to go bang when you actually have to. So we're going to be talking quick about status checks. Now, there's multiple ways to do status checks. Now, the ammunition I'll be using right here is just like I said, nothing fancy. These are just little snap caps. So I'm going to talk a couple quick ways how you load a gun. So obviously loading a gun is pretty simple. You know, people know how to do it. People have known how to do it for a while now. You put the magazine in. You're pushing this hand forward. You're pulling this one back. You can do a couple methods. You can either go to the top, rack it back like this. You can turn it down to the side, rack it like that. Or the ever famous, which people don't like, sending the slide forward, which does work, all right? So you can do that method too, especially for people that have a hard time manipulating the slides and stuff like that. So those are how the three methods of loading a gun. So tapping, pulling it overhand like that, pulling it back, or shifting the gun like this, getting a pinch on it with it on the grips and slide it back and send it forward. This hand goes that way, this hand goes that way, all right? Those are the main methods of doing it. Now, you remember I put one in the chamber, right? You remember I pushed that little button, that, like reload button, that easy reload button, and I put one in the chamber. So now I know it's loaded. However, I want to make sure. So now we're going to be talking about status checks. So a status check is basically checking to see if it's loaded, checking what condition the firearm is in. Now, it's like this. The best way, there's multiple ways of doing a status check. Now, some people like this method, all right? You can come over the top like this. You never put your hand in front of the muzzle, all right? You never want to do that. You come over the top and you simply grab it from the slide, just like you're doing a slingshot, and just pull it back enough so you can see if there's a round in the chamber. And I could see there was a round in the chamber. The other method that some people like, I don't know why they like doing this method, they grab it from the bottom like this, they grab the sights and they pull it back. And actually, it's more of a struggle to do it that right way. I want to make sure it's back in the battery too. I just don't like doing it like that. Now, the other method that a lot of people like to teach is this method. You just come underneath like this, grab the front, pull it back. Now, once again, there just doesn't feel like there's that much of a grip, and I have some pretty strong hands on the actual pistol stuff to do that. So I do a different method. So what I do is I turn it like this, okay? I turn it like this, angle it that way. Then I take this hand, never crossing the muzzle, and I pinch this right here. See how I'm pinching that really heavy duty? I pinch that and simply push it back like that, pushing one hand forward, one hand back, and I can see it whether or not it's cleared. That's my preferred method, which is just coming around the top, putting the gun like this, coming around the top, putting it out there, checking, and you can tell there's a round in the chamber. So now we know this is loaded. So that's how you do a status check. Now, you want to do this when you're getting ready to go out for the day. So you pick up your gun, it's been in your safe overnight. So you grab it, put it in a safe direction, take a look, make sure it's ready to go in case you don't want to go out there and realize that there's not a round in the chamber at the last minute. So that's one thing you want to do too. Now you might want to keep in mind on how many rounds are actually in the magazine itself too. So if you choose when you're pulling it out of the safe in the morning, take a look. There's usually little holes in the bottom of these are the fancy 10 rounders that we have. You usually tell, okay, we're loaded, got one in the chamber, boom, we're good to go. Now comes the important part. Now this is the part where people get shot, all right? This is the part where people do get shot, which is reholstering your pistol. Now keep in mind, there are a lot of YouTubers and expedition shooters out there that teach you the fancy method for reloading the holster, which is when you're pulling it up, is you simply you're done shooting, you're dang, check really quick, then you slam it in the holster. Don't. That's a good way to shoot yourself, okay? That's a really good way to shoot yourself, especially with like a striker fired pistol where that grip safety is, or that trigger safety is pretty much only for drop safe. There's been police officers that had something that actually got stuck in it and they put it in a holster and poof, into their foot and stuff like that. So not a good idea. So we're gonna be talking about the proper way to actually holster it. Now, keep in mind, when you're in a fight, right? When you are in a fight or something like that, or a defensive situation, there's no stopwatch. You are not rushing your way through this. And you're going to want to hesitate to put your gun away in the first place, because if there's one threat, there might be two threats. There's a good chance there's going to be two threats. If there's two threats, there's a good chance there's going to be 3 or 4 threats. So before you reholster your gun, you want to make sure it's time to reholster your gun. So say you had to get into a fight or whatever it is, or you're at the range, whatever you're shooting from a holster. You just want to check, sure. You don't need to do the fancy, oh crap, I pooped myself type of look. All you need to, most people do that. They don't even look. It's like, whoa, whoa. It's like, what did you see? You simply grab it and you take a look around you, make sure you're cleared to go. And that's all you need to do. You make sure the threats are cleared. You check out the body language, you see people, no one else is moving onto target. Now it's time to safely holster my gun. Guys, the threat's no longer a threat. If it's still a possible threat, you probably don't want to put this away yet. Like say if he's on the ground and, still a possible threat, don't put it away yet. However, if the threat is completely ended, all right, there's no more threat whatsoever, yeah, it's a good time to reholster your gun. So I'm going to do this quick little thing, and I'm not rushing it or anything like that. This is just a great way of doing it to make sure, you don't shoot yourself or shoot someone else, especially yourself, because that's a big problem. So what you do, after you've shot it, like I said, we have snap caps in here, right? After you've shot it, when you're ready to holster it, first thing you want to do, check the status of the gun. Now for a Glock, this doesn't really apply. I'm doing this, I look at it, you see Glock, what they do. Now if this was a SIG, or like a double single action, the hammer would be back or something like that. And you're like, okay, now it's time to decock it. So you check the status of it. What is this in? Is it in single action? Is it in double action? When it comes to Glock, not a big deal, but still a good habit to practice. Look to see what's on there, if the status would be on there. So you turn it one direction and then turn it the other direction. Make sure your finger's off the damn trigger, okay? So you shoot, turn it, check the status of the gun, make sure the finger's off the trigger, and then simply remove the cover garment, put it in, finger off the trigger. Actually, I'll put my finger out like that, slowly put it in. Did you see me slamming it into the holster? No, I didn't once slam it into the holster. So we're gonna try that again. So we'll pull it out, we have to shoot, bang, bang, bang. The threat is no longer a threat. You make sure there's no more threat going on. Now it's time to holster your gun. So you simply do that, boom, check your finger, put it in the holster. Now some people may think that that first check is redundant, especially if like a Glock or a striker fire pistol, but if you have a gun that has like a safety on it, or if it's double single action, like there are some striker fire pistols that have safeties on it, there are. Or if it's a double single action, you're gonna wanna check. And when you're looking at that first check, you're gonna be looking for the hammer, you wanna look at the safety. And if there's safety on it, when you get here, that's when you pop the safety up. If it's a single action or double single action, that's when you decock it, all right? So you check the status of it. Now, I'm doing this with a Glock because it gets me into the habit of doing that first motion and then checking that, because when I go back to the 1911, which I only carry a Glock or a 1911, it has a safety on it. So when I check the status before I holster, I want to put it in there, make sure that safety's up, and then I'm going to turn it the opposite way, make sure my finger's off the trigger, straighten off the trigger. I like to say high, straighten off the trigger. And then you simply remove the cover garment and slowly put it in the holster. Slowly put it in the holster. If you feel anything pushing back, all right, like it's not going to go in there, stop reholstering and look, all right? There's no problem with looking. There's nothing wrong with looking into your holster to make sure it's clear, all right? Now, if you have like a duty belt on or something like that and it's out there, you can take an extra step if you want, which you take this back leg, you can't see it on the camera, and you step forward, because if you're looking, you're holding it strong side, then now that muzzle is pointing directly at the ground, and then you can put it in. That's if you choose. You don't have to. It's just a step, extra step that you can choose if you want. For me, for most part, what I do is when I put it in and out of the holster, I take a look at it, check the status, check the finger, put it in the holster. Now, I learned this over a 6-hour academy, and I really dig it. All right, I really, really dig it. So from now on, that's how I reholster my gun, and I'd highly recommend you guys do too, because it doesn't matter what firearm you use, whatever it is, if it has a safety, decocker, it's a good practice to know the status of that gun, and then actually check the finger, make sure it's off the trigger, and then put it in the holster. So those are the steps right there where you could help, that could help you, avoid negligent discharge, especially the dangerous ones that could put you or someone else in the hospital. Anyway, guys, if you like this instructional video, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about me, and remember, it's our responsibility to take care of each other and protect each other. Peace.